Hey guys, this is Dr. Sangeeta from Dental Pathshala, where we help you understand and learn dentistry better and easy way. So till now we have covered when the bacteria enters our body. So there is a war going on between the bacteria and our body. So our body is releasing the cells in order to kill the bacteria, and while killing the bacteria, our body the cells destroy our body also. So there is a harmful effect on our body as well. So there is a formation of the pocket because these inflammatory cells go into the gingival connective tissue and they destroy the collagen fibers also. While they are destroying the collagen fibers, so there is a formation of the pocket, which is the pathological deepening of the sulcus, and we can measure this pocket with the help of a periodontal probe, which I have already shown you in the previous video. So it can be either a William probe, UNC 15 probe, or a WHO probe. So once we measure, because there are gradients, there are marking in the periodontal probe, so we can just put it inside the depth of the pocket and we can see how deep it is. Because it has markings, we just need to count those markings. So every millimeter they have marking. In the Williams probe, if we talk about, so only 4 and 6 marking is missing. So that is how we know the pocket depth. And once we calculate the pocket depth, if it is too deep, suppose if the pocket is a pseudo pocket, then we have to go for pseudo pocket. That means there is a gingival inflammation. That means we are going to cut all of the extra gingiva. So we are either going to do the gingivectomy or the gingivoplasty procedure. But if it is a true pocket, now if the pocket is a shallow pocket, then we can also treat it with the SRP, the scaling and the root planning procedure. And if it is a deep pocket, suppose if it is deeper than 5 millimeter, then because our scalers cannot go deep inside, so we have to just remove the flap. So removing the soft tissue and going deep inside where there is a necrotic tissue, where there is an inflamed tissue, and we just remove the flap, we remove the soft tissue and go till depth of the base of the pocket. And once we reach the base of the pocket, we just clean all of the surface, all of the root surface, we remove all of the necrotic tissue. So this is known as the flap surgical procedure. So this procedure wherein we are just removing the soft tissue and cleaning all of the necrotic or the inflamed tissues is known as periodontal flap surgery. And today's video we are going to talk about the periodontal flap surgery. So let's get started. So before we get started, make sure you subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon. That way you get a notification as soon as I release a video lecture. Now talking about the periodontal flap surgery, which is the today's topic. It is removing the tissue. It is removing the tissue in order to access the inflammation, in order to access the necrotic tissues, to clean it. So this is the surgical procedure in which a tissue is reflected, which we call it the flap surgery. Now this flap surgery is not a rocket science. Basically it is separating the soft tissue. So we are separating this part of the soft tissue in order to remove the necrotic part and in order to remove the necrotic tissues or the inflamed tissue. Now either we can just remove the flap and clean all of these things. So we can do the scaling and the root planning procedure. Or also in the case of deep pockets and all, you can either move this piece of flap, this piece of soft tissue, either coronally or apically based on the type of flaps that we will be covering. So we have two kinds of flap. Either we are taking the flap coronally or we are taking the flap apically, or we are not displacing it at all. So we have that we will cover in the classification. So guys, a value of the probing depth tells us about the pocket. So if probing depth is 5 millimeter, that doesn't mean that the crest up till the crest is up till the crest it is 5 millimeter, because there is going to be a little bit of soft tissue also. So almost 50% is the 50% support is lost, and this was told by the Linde. So he told that we should come to an probing depth above which we can do flap surgery and below which we can do the scaling and the root planning procedure. So he gave it the value as 5 millimeters, and he told that above the 5 millimeters, above the 5 millimeters of the probing depth. So he told this 5 millimeters as the critical probing depth, and below this, if it is deeper than 5 millimeter, then we have to do the flap surgery. We have to remove it surgical in order to clean, in order to access the necrotic pulp and necrotic fibrotic tissues, and if it is below 5 millimeters, then we can do the scaling and root planning procedure. We don't have to go for any surgical procedure. We can remove it with the help of the scalers itself. So flap surgery is basically the section of the gingiva. So we are sectioning the gingiva or the mucosa surgically. We are separating it surgically from the tooth surface, and in order to provide the visibility, in order to see what is there inside, because otherwise we cannot see it. So we are undergoing in a surgical procedure in order to see the visibility and in order to access the bone as well as the root surface area. So if we remove this flap surface, then we can see whatever is there on the root surface as well as on the tissue surface. So accessibility is important in order to see what is going on inside, deep inside. So this accessibility or removal of the flap, we call it the flap surgical procedure or the periodontal flap surgical procedure. It is basically reshaping of the soft tissue or the hard tissue in order to maintain the topography. For example, if there is any osseous defect which is close to the apex, so also after removing the flap we can see. So basically to correct any mucogingival deformity, to correct any flap, to correct basically any pockets, deep pockets, we are doing this procedure. We are doing this treatment for advanced periodontitis lesion which require the construction or regenerative procedure, like we have talked about the GTR. So in order to reach up to the apex, we have to remove the flap first. So all the surgical procedure which require going deep inside, so we will do the flap surgery first, or if only cleaning, then also we will go for the flap surgical procedure, because first thing we need to do is we need to remove the soft tissue, and this removal of the soft tissue is known as the periodontal flap. So periodontal flap is not much of a big deal, it's just the simply removing of the soft tissue. So we can do this in case of an active pocket in which the pocket depth is more than 5 to 6 millimeters, and accessibility to get a proper root debridement in order to reduce the pocket depth, in order to do any mucogingival surgery. If there is any mucogingival deformity is there, if any inflammation is there, so or if we want to shift this gingival margin either apical or coronal in order to remove the periodontal pocket, so in order to reduce the height of the pocket, or if we want to do it apically, we are shifting it down in order to see the furcation involvement. And the resection surgery, we have already covered that. We sometimes shift it apically in cases of the furcation defect, in cases of severe furcation defect, because class 3 we want to convert it to class 4. So we want to remove the soft tissue. For that we are going for apical displacement. We are removing this flap surgical. Suppose if this is a molar teeth. Right? And if we want to, for grade 3, we want to convert it to grade 4, because otherwise grade 3 has poor prognosis. So we are making it accessible for the patient to clean that area. So we are removing all of the soft tissue, we are removing it, and we are shifting it towards the root apex. So we are shifting it apically. In that case also we are doing a flap surgical procedure. That would be a apical periodontal flap surgical procedure, apical displacement of the flap. So this is removing of the soft tissue. Either we are removing it and keeping it back to the place, we are removing it and we are shifting coronally in order for, if in case recession is there, then we want to shift it more coronally. If in case grade 3 furcation defect and we want to convert it to grade 4, then we are shifting it apically. So anyhow, if we want to keep it in the place or we want to shift it here and there, that would be a periodontal flap surgical procedure. We have zones in the pocket surgery. So zone 1 is our soft tissue pocket wall. So soft tissue pocket wall, soft tissue can be either edematous or it can be fibrotic. Now we have to remove this pocket lining first. If it is fibrotic, then we have to go for the gingivectomy, which we have covered. And if it is edematous, then the first thing, see, remember, for any surgical procedure in the perio, the first thing we need to do is SRP, scaling and root planning. Basically scaling and root planning, I've told you what is SRP. So scaling and root planning, basically removing all of the subgingival calculus, and then planning is smoothing the root surface. So we are doing this 1 week before any surgical procedure. If you want to do any surgery in perio, the first thing you need to do is 1 week before that you have to do the scaling and root planning procedure. So first thing is soft tissue pocket wall. So the pocket wall we have to see either it is edematous or it is fibrotic. If it is fibrotic, then we have to go for the cutting procedure, which would be our gingivectomy. If it is edematous pocket, that means first thing we have to go for the scaling and root planning, and then we need to plan for the periodontal flap surgical procedure. So we have to determine the morphological features, the thickness of the soft tissue, how thick it is, the topography of the soft tissue pocket wall also, because we have to remove the necrotic soft tissue wall. The second thing is our tooth surface. So tooth surface, first of all, you have to remove all of the plaque, calculus, necrotic cementum. So whatever, once you remove the flap, you have to see if it is any necrotic tissues which are on the root surface area, on the cemental surface area, you need to scrape it. So you need to do scaling and root planning at the tooth surface also. As well as the enamel surface, excuse me. So the cementum surface, you have to smoothen it. And before 1 week before doing that, you have to do again scaling and root planning. This I don't have to tell you again and again. So this decreases the inflammation because you are removing all of the necrotic tissue. So this will decrease the inflammation. Also this will decrease the bacterial load. This will decrease the bleeding, and it will lead to a good prognosis. So in case you are removing this flap, so you have to do scaling and root planning along the tooth surface wall. The third thing is the bone. So underlying bone, we have to decide either you are doing, if you are touching the bone, if you are doing any surgery of the bone, first thing is you need to remove the flap. Now for bone, you need to remove a full thickness flap that we will cover in the classification. So first thing is, while you are doing any surgery for the bone, first you need to remove the flap in order to access the bone, right? So in order to access the bone, first you need to remove the soft tissue, because see, soft tissue is there. If you want to go to the bone, first you have to remove all of the soft tissue. Same goes for the teeth also. Same goes, because gums area you need to remove, you need to access to the bone. You need to, if you are going for any resective surgery or regenerative surgery. So resective surgery is you are cutting off the bone. That we will do for class 3 or class 4 surgeries. Or if you are going for a reconstruction surgery, so that is flap. If you are going for a reconstruction surgery, then you need to preserve the papilla. So that would be a papilla preservation flap or the circular flap, or you are going for a modified Widman flap. See, today's video we are going to cover the superficial layout of the periodontal flap surgery. So I will give you an idea, classification, what is the periodontal flap surgery, and everything about the flap surgeries. Now next video we are going to talk in detail about each and every flap surgical procedures. So if you are going for a reconstruction, for example, for type 2, first thing is you need to check the shape, height of the alveolar bone, which is next to the pocket wall, through probing as well as for radiographs you can also see. And criteria for the selection of technique depends on the what kind of bone defect it is. Either it is a crater, bony crater in which buccal and lingual wall is present. So basically if you are going for any bone surgical procedure, accordingly you have to reflect the flap. What kind of surgery you are going, the same kind of surgery, we have the different kind of flap surgical procedure for the bone surgeries. So like that, likewise I have told you, for reconstruction surgeries you have to go for specific kind of flap. So if you want to go for bone surgeries, we have to specifically plan first that this is the bone surgery we want to go, and accordingly we will plan the flap also. So the fourth one is our attached gingiva. See, this is a very important, because all the surgical procedure I have been telling you this, that the adequacy of the attached gingiva you need to see. If this is inadequate, then that would be a contraindication for a flap surgery. So now we are going to finally talk about the attached gingiva. Now attached gingiva is very important. If there is inadequacy of the attached gingiva, then you are not going for any surgical procedure, because this is contraindicated. I have been telling you this always. And if it is inadequacy of attached gingiva, so for surgery you will make it adequate. So you will go for the vestibular deepening procedures. So first thing you will plan for the attachment, for the adequacy of the attached gingiva. And after 2 months, after the attached gingiva is adequate, then you will plan the flap surgery, and then you will proceed for the surgery. So this adequacy of the attached gingiva tells us about that how many stages do we need to plan for the surgical procedure, how many stages we are going to cover in this surgery, whatever the desired result we want, and accordingly how many stages we have to cover it. So this likewise we have different kind of pocket therapies. For example, if we want to do any GTR surgery or new attachment, if we want to give the new attachment so that there is a attachment, there is a reduction in the pocket, if we want to put the GTR, if we want to regenerate the PDL and the cementum. Likewise, if we want to remove the tissue, the tooth surface, the necrotic tooth surface, for example, or if we want to remove the pocket wall because the pocket wall is inflamed, so if we want to remove this, so in case of infrabony defect we have to remove little bit of bone also. So retraction or shrinkage of the pocket wall, first we have to do the scaling and root planning, and then we have to plan for the surgical procedure, then we have to plan for the periodontal flap surgery. And now that also we need to see if it is okay, if we can do the gingivectomy procedure, then we have to see if we get corrected with the gingivectomy procedure, or we have to see if we have to go for a flap surgery, if we have to go for a apically displaced flap, or if we want to go for a undisplaced flap. So if we want to just clean it and keep the flap back, that will be our undisplaced flap. Undisplaced means we are not displacing the flap anywhere. We are keeping the soft tissue as it was earlier on the same position. Also, if you are removing the tooth side pocket, then you have to see either you are going for extraction, you are going for hemisection like we have already covered in the resective surgical procedures, or either you want to go for a root resectioning. So the choice of your procedure depends on the pocket depth, and it depends on the mucogingival junction also, and also on the adequacy of the attached gingiva. So coming to the classification of the flap according to the bone exposure after we reflect the flap. So if we directly hit the bone, and includes, if the flap includes the periosteum, now this is used the full thickness. So basically the whole of the thickness of the soft tissue is reflected. So we are hitting the bone. Can you see this exposed bony surface? So coming to the classification of the flap surgeries, we have the first one is the bone exposure after the flap reflection. So if we are reflecting the flap likewise, and if we are reflecting the flap in such a way that we are exposing the bone surface, can you see we have exposed the bone surface? For example, suppose if it was a bony craters, then there is a buccal and lingual bone present with the resorption of the interdental interproximal bone. So in that case, because we want to trim this bony surface, so we want to reflect the flap in such a way that we can see the bone, we can work on the bone. So in case, because we are reflecting this flap and directly hitting the bone surface, this includes the periosteum, and this flap, the full thickness flap, or we can say the mucoperiosteal flap, is used for the bone surgeries, is used for the osseous surgeries, or if we want to do the PDL regeneration, or if we want to place the GTR, then also we are reflecting the full thickness flap, because if you remember, we have to prevent the bone connective tissue as well as epithelium. So, or if you want to do any apical position flapped, we have to reflect the full thickness of the flap, the whole of the thickness, and we have to directly hit the bone. So that would be our mucoperiosteal flap, also known as the full thickness flap. Now the drawback of this flap is because you are reflecting all of the soft tissue, and now these fibers are actually giving the blood supply to the bone, to the teeth as well. So there will be a resorption of 1 millimeter. There will be up to 1 millimeter of bone resorption because we are reflecting this and because it was providing the nutrition. So in order to do that, if we don't require to touch the bone surface, then we will go for the partial thickness or the split thickness flap. In that, we are leaving a little bit of the soft tissue onto the tooth surface, leaving the periosteum and the bone intact and not using in the flap surgery. So we use this kind of partial thickness flap or split thickness flap, or we can say the mucosal flap. We use it for the mucogingival surgeries because we don't require to reflect the bone, we don't require to expose the bone. So we don't do this partial thickness flap, we do this partial thickness flap for the mucogingival surgeries. Also, we have a classification based on the placement of the flap after the surgery. So placement of the flap after the surgery, that is our, either it is undisplaced flap. Undisplaced flap means, see, this was the, suppose if this is our soft tissue previously before exposing the flap, I am going to show you from here. Suppose if this was the previous soft tissue coverage till here, And if we are keeping it back, reflecting it and keeping it back as it is, then that is our undisplaced flap. We are not displacing the flap. Then we have the displaced flap. In displaced flap, either we are reflecting this and we are stretching it and we are placing it coronally, for example in case of a recession, so that would be our coronally positioned flap, or either we are placing it apically. So if we are placing it apically towards the apex, then that would be our apically displaced flap. So like that we also have the laterally positioned flap. So these are based on the placement of the flap after the surgery. Also we have, based on the management of papilla, we have the conventional flap, in which we are cutting the papillas, and the papillary preservation flap. So the conventional flap is we are cutting the papillas. So once you make an incision all throughout the papillas, now what happens when you are doing this kind of incision? So there will be a black triangle which is formed because you are cutting all of the papillas. So there will be loss of aesthetic. So if in case you want to do anterior surgery in the anterior teeth, aesthetic is very important, because you don't, while you are preserving the tooth, you don't want to ruin the aesthetic of the patient. So you are doing the papillary preservation flap. So in this you are preserving all of the papilla. So either you can go lingual to the line angles, so you can make an incision like that, lingual to the line angle. Also you can go lingual line angle to the lingual line angle, like this, lingual line angle to the lingual line angle. So can you see, you are preserving these papillas. So you are reflecting all of the papilla. So you have now, like this, you have preserved the papillas in case of a papilla preservation flap. And according to Carranza, periodontal flap surgery can be used for pocket or for any other defect, correction of the defect. So for correction of the pocket reduction surgery, for correction of the pocket, it can be either resective or the regenerative. Regenerative surgery, like we do it in the GTR, where while we place the GTR like that, flaps with the graft and the membrane while we are placing, we do the regenerative surgery. Resective surgery, wherein we are also reflecting the flap and cutting something. So reflecting will be, or resective is our gingivectomy. Either we are cutting the gingiva, apically displaced flap, undisplaced flap, with or without any osseous resection. So if we want to remove the bone. So correction of other defect, correction of the anatomic or morphological defect. Either it can be a plastic surgery technique. So plastic surgery technique is used to widen the attached gingiva. So wherein we have inadequacy of attached gingiva, we use this technique along with the free gingival graft. So basically we place the gingival, we take the graft and we place the gingival graft to increase the width of the attached gingiva. Also we can use the aesthetic surgery. Aesthetic surgery as in recession. In case of a recession, we are just taking the flap and we are placing it coronally. So like that we are doing the root coverage procedure, or we are recreating the gingival papilla. In case of we want aesthetic, also we can use for pre-prosthetic surgery. For example, if you want to do the crown lengthening, or you want to augment the ridge, or any vestibular deepening procedure, that also comes in the pre-prosthetic surgery. And if you want to do the flap surgical procedure along with the dental implants. So for example, if you are doing the guided bone regeneration, or you want to put the sinus grafting, so all these cases you use flap along with the defect, along with the correction of either the pocket or correction of any defect. This was the according to Carranza. So basically, if you are reducing the pockets, if you are doing any pocket surgery, so any pocket surgery, either you are reducing the pocket or you are eliminating the pocket. So either it is a reduction surgery or it is the elimination surgery. See, there is a difference between both of these, pocket reduction as well as pocket elimination. You need to understand both of these terms. Pocket reduction, that means we are reducing the size of the pocket. That is, suppose if there was a pocket depth of 10 millimeters. So we are reducing up to 4 millimeters, so that we can do SRP, or we can reducing it to the 4 to 5 millimeters, so that we can correct it with the SRP, because more than this we cannot reduce. So we are maintaining the depth of the pocket and with no pain or with no exudate or bleeding basically. And elimination, pocket elimination procedure is eliminating the pocket. So pocket depth is reduced to the physiological depth of the sulcus, which is 2 to 3 millimeters. So which is the physiological depth of the sulcus, and histological depth of the gingival sulcus, which is 1.8 millimeter, which we have covered in the gingiva. So if you are doing the pocket reduction procedure, that means you are maintaining the depth. So that means you are either doing the modified Widman flap, or you are doing the conventional or Kirkland flap, or you are distalizing the distal molar flap surgery, or you are using the curettage technique. Elimination, pocket elimination procedure includes you are eliminating it and making it normal like as it was previously. So it includes the Widman flap modified and undisplaced flap, apically displaced flap, or if you are doing any regenerative procedure. So any regenerative procedure will eliminate, because your regeneration is, as we have talked about, taking it to such a relation that it was previously, that it was normal. So doing any regenerative procedure will also come under the pocket elimination procedure. That would be a papillary preservation flap, or it can be the conventional flap procedure. See, the pocket reduction and the pocket elimination we are going to talk about. So if it is a modified Widman flap, then it is a reduction. If it is a Widman flap, then it is a elimination procedure. If it is an apically displaced flap, then it is a elimination procedure, because see, if you are making it apically, that means you are just suppose the pocket was like this, right, previously. Now when you are apically displacing this flap, then there is a removal of the pocket. There is no pocket at all. So that also is a eliminating procedure. For regeneration, if you are doing, that will be again a eliminating procedure, because you are regenerating it. That means it will automatically come back to the normal. So we have, according to that, we have reduction or the elimination. So how should be a gingival flap design? Now it should be wider at the base. When you see the base, it is wider. So it is like this. This one is wider. So while we are making this vertical incision, it should be wider at the base, and to ensure that there is adequate blood supply. There should not be no incision over the bony defect. We should not incise over any bony defect if there is any fenestration or dehiscence or any bony defect. For example, if this defect should not be on the recession also. So we should avoid too close contact with any bony defect, too close contact with any defect or any recession, and the corners of flap should be rounded, and the vertical or releasing incision which we give, it should be at the line angle. So ideally the margins of the flap should be at the right line angles between the two. So if you are placing it at the middle of the papilla, middle of the interdental papilla, then there will be loss of papilla, which will lead to the black triangle. Or if it is either towards the mid facial surface, then it is going to do the gingival recession. So the vertical or releasing incision you are giving, it should be at the line angles between the two, and you should avoid the vital structures. Suppose if you are going a flap surgery between the two premolars, like that. So there are high chances that you may damage the nerve, mental nerve, or if there is any artery, if there is any nerve coming in between the vital structure, that also you should avoid, because then there will be a surgical complication. And the last one and the most important one is the post-operative plaque control, which is very important. The patient, you should instruct the patient to maintain the oral hygiene. So whatever surgery you are doing, it should not go into the flush. So the post-operative plaque control by the patient is very important. The patient should maintain the hygiene after the surgical procedure. So today's video is about the periodontal flap surgery, and next part of the video we are going to cover the surgical procedures, all of the flaps, all of the incisions we are going to cover in the next part of the video. So incisions and the flap we are going to cover. So today's video we have covered the classification, we have covered the role of the periodontal flap surgery, what is the periodontal flap surgery, what should be the design of a periodontal flap surgery, and what is the full thickness, partial thickness, like that we have covered the flaps in general. So if you feel that you have learned something new today, then go ahead and hit the comment box and the like button. And also if you feel that you are learning something from the channel, then please share the channel, share the videos with your friends so that they can also learn, and that way it will also help me. If you are learning anything from the channel, learning anything from the videos, then please share it with your friends so that they can also learn. And don't forget to connect with me. I'll see you soon for another lecture.